Welcome to the 2021 NCDOT Women's History Month Roundtable. This year's theme, Let's Talk STEM. This talk today has been planned in an effort to highlight the present-day achievements of women in STEM. We are joined today by hosts and participants from across the state of North Carolina who've graciously accepted our invitation to carve out time just for you. I'll be your moderator, Miracle King. I am a communications specialist within NCDOT's Governor's Highway Safety Program. Your hosts today are two of our illustrious NCDOT Board of Transportation members. Valerie D. Jordan, who joined the board in March of 2017, brings more than 20 years of experience in development, account services, and project management, and she currently works as owner and operator of Hunter J Group, a professional consulting firm. A native of Warren County and longtime resident of Raleigh, Jordan is a graduate of North Carolina Central University and earned a Master's of Business Administration from the Keller Graduate School of Management. Lisa Mathis joined the NC Board of Transportation in August 2019. Mathis, a Sanford small business owner, artist, and community leader, is a longtime advocate for jobs and growth. She brings more than 25 years of creative design, communication, and problem-solving skills. Mathis owns Art Studio, which focuses on spreading art and design education to our next generation of creative leaders. She has served on various boards of community and civic organizations and schools, and in 2018, she ran for the NC House of Representatives. He's a graduate of the College of William and Mary. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Let's get started.
Thank you, Miracle, for that introduction. And thank you, ladies, for us who joined us as our esteemed panelists, representing the various roles within NCDOT. And thank you to our audience for watching along. You may be joining us today from YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, or even within a classroom. This is the first in a series of roundtable discussions that we hope will foster not only talks around STEM career paths, but encourage you to consider the world of logistics, safety, and transportation here at NCDOT or anywhere else that women can lead. Lisa?
That's right. We hope that today's talk will help to shatter the stigma of unseen gender barriers in the STEM fields for those for the underrepresented by hearing from the viewpoint of industry experts, our women leaders within NCDOT. The women speaking here today have journeyed various roads to get where they are within the department, and we want to celebrate that, albeit tough for most women, a road less traveled in STEM.
So ladies, if you could each introduce yourselves, give your name, title, division, along with a brief description of what important role you play specifically as a woman, keeping our roadways safe and expanding, and how that may have evolved in the midst of a pandemic. We're going to start off with Amelia, then Janice, then Maira, Jennifer, Laura, and then Toyia. You'll wrap it up with that. So let's start. Amelia?
All right, I'm Amelia Helms. I'm the Anson County Maintenance Engineer here in Division 10. I'm responsible for the office that maintains the roadways and responds to disasters, storm-related events. I wouldn't say a whole lot has changed in regards to my role during the pandemic, but it certainly has its challenges in keeping an office functioning while still keeping everyone safe. So.
Thank you so much. Janice, hi, how are you?
I'm fine, how are you? I'm Janice Hampton. I'm same as Amelia, Division 10. I'm Cabarrus Maintenance Engineer, and we do basically the same thing. We keep roads safe for the traveling public, handle anything that happens during a disaster. We have to do what we can to keep the traffic moving, and we do all we can to just keep our employees safe. And nothing has really changed. Just like Amelia said, nothing has changed as far as, except for when we meet, we have to meet differently than we used to. We would have to break things up and hold more than one meeting to try to get everything accomplished. And we were rotating employees at one time, where we were working like one crew would rotate different crews on different days, but now we're at the point where we can all get back together and work because we don't have as many employees as we wish we had. But it's a challenging role because most of what we do has to do with complaints and people calling complaints about different things that they encounter in their travels.
Wow, thank you so much. Maira?
Hello, my name is Maira Ibarra, and I'm a senior assistant resident engineer in one of the Division 5 construction offices. As a senior assistant, I manage different projects here in the Triangle area. And as a role as a woman, like, I had to make tough decisions to continue projects to be delivered on time. So a lot of these decisions had to be made on the short notices. So I had to go out to the field and make those decisions. During the pandemic, a lot of design groups, I feel like, were able to go work from home, but in construction, you still have to be able to go to the site to see what the issues are and resolve them there. So a lot of things have not changed, similar to maintenance. We just got to keep going to the projects themselves. The only things that we have changed was just meeting virtually with the contractors in order to avoid a lot of group gatherings.
Wow, thank you for that. Jennifer?
Hey, this is Jennifer Portanova. I'm the state traffic systems operations engineer in the mobility and safety division. And I'm responsible for statewide programs for incident management, traveler information, which is like the drive-and-see.gov and the overhead message boards that you see on the road. Incident management programs like IMAP, which is our Safety Service Patrol, and our statewide ITS, which is Intelligent Transportation System. But the operations of those, the traffic management centers, the statewide operation management center, and signal system timing. So that includes a lot of things. And our jobs have changed quite a bit during the pandemic. One, because most of what our responsibility is to make sure that traffic is moving and address congestion. And our congestion pretty much went away all of a sudden within a couple of days. And so our role, and everybody went virtual. So we have a 24-hour center that we had to, within a couple of days, figure out how to virtually or separate our staff. And so we have some of our staff working virtually, even on the 24-hour schedule. And we also had to figure out what does that look like for our IMAP staff, and how do they respond differently with people that they're trying to help on the road. And then we started tracking the traffic volumes and seeing how the decreases and now how it's increasing, and at what point do we start to implement some of the strategies that we were using to manage congestion. So yes, the pandemic has had quite a bit of impact. Also, overhead message boards, we have policies about what messages we'll put on there, and that completely changed during our pandemic, which is the national emergency, and messages that we wouldn't have ever put on there before. We had to make some hard decisions about what we would. And so that's pretty much the essence of how we have made some changes during the pandemic.
Thanks, Jennifer. Laura?
Hi, I'm Laura Jean. I'm the Deputy Division Traffic Engineer for Division 10. I cover 5 counties in which I oversee design and operations for signals, speed limits, signs, and markings. The pandemic has kind of altered a bit what we've done. As Jennifer had said, our traffic has changed. We used to have different, our peak hours have changed. There's certain hours during the day where people travel the most, and we saw, especially in the beginning of the pandemic, essential workers working at different times, not as much traffic. It is starting to increase again, but it does kind of change the dynamic of issues that come up, of complaints that we get. And I deal directly with the public. They can call me and talk to me about any issues that they have. So the pandemic has kind of changed it a little bit of ways of how hours have changed for people in their working and virtual working.
Thanks, Laura. Toyia?
My name is Toyia Smith. I am the senior, oh man, my title changed a year ago, so I'm trying to remember it. Senior assistant resident engineer. But I am currently working in the District 2 Division 7 office, helping them kind of catch up and reviewing their plans for subdivisions and encroachments and driveway permits. My job hasn't really changed during the pandemic, except that I just work from home 3 days a week. The plans are still rolling in. You'd be surprised. You would think that, industry has stopped, but they're still building. So we're still reviewing plans and everything else, and they still want them turned over in a certain amount of time. So that's the only thing that's pretty much kind of changed, is that I just work from home 3 days a week.
Those are all great comments, particularly about the pandemic and how things change. I wonder what it's going to be like next year. Okay, the next question is, who are some of your sheroes, and why is it critical that gender not be a barrier? And let's start with Amelia.
My high school calculus teacher, Elizabeth Gaither, she had a big impact on me. She really believed in me, saw potential in me, and so that kind of encouraged me early on to stick with my career goals. But my grandfather was the biggest reason that I decided to pursue a career in civil engineering, and specifically at DOT. He retired here as an engineer with over 40 years of service. And so I wanted to follow in his footsteps ever since I was a little girl. And he never really brought up the fact that it was a male-dominated field, and he didn't make me feel like I should feel any differently about it or think any less of myself because I was a girl in engineering. So to be honest, I didn't give much thought because nobody around me did. My parents and especially my grandpa just encouraged me to stick with it. And I think that's really important because, gender doesn't really define whether or not you're capable of working in this field.
Excellent. Thank you, Amelia. Janice, you're next.
Okay, I had to really think about that. But the most current one would be Kamla Harris, because in the position that I'm in, I was the first female, Black female, and female in the position that I'm in. And when she became the vice president, I was thinking, wow, the same type thing, first female, first, woman of color. And, when I got in this position, there were a lot of challenges, and there still are, because I know there were a lot of times when I would go out with my employees, and I would be looked at as the little helper. And a lot of the men who we would go out to meet in the field, they would say, is this your little helper? And then my employees would tell them, no, this is my supervisor. And they would be like, wow, and they were really shocked at the fact that I had this position. And another one of my sheroes is Harriet Tubman. And I really appreciate how she didn't allow her illiteracy, her health, her narcolepsy to prevent her from achieving the mission that she had in life. And what was so good about that was that even with the narcolepsy, she didn't look at that as a disadvantage. She looked at that as her time for God to give her direction in life, that he would speak to her through her dreams. And I thought, man, that is so, that is such a thing to admire in a person who doesn't allow any of their health or their fears or anything like that to prevent them from achieving whatever mission that they feel like they have to do in life.
That's wonderful. It's wonderful to exceed expectations and surprise everybody. So thank you. Maira, you're next.
So my shero is Ellen Ochoa. She majored in engineering, and she was the first Hispanic woman to go to space. The reason is because I'm Hispanic, and I was the first one in my family to go to college. So she inspired me to major in engineering and make me think that I am capable of doing anything, And I think it's important to have someone who inspires you in order to know that you can also be the first of many. So like Eleonora did not allow her gender to determine who she was going to become, and therefore she was able to provide her expertise to NASA. So that's why I feel like Eleonora is my hero by being the first Hispanic woman to go to space.
That's awesome. And you're somebody else's Shiro now too, you know that. So Jennifer, you're next.
So I have had the opportunity to work for two women engineers in my career, and I've learned a lot from them. I started this field thinking that I had to be like a man. I had some of the similar experiences of people underestimating or not thinking I was in the position I was. And so I watched them and emulated their behaviors. One of them I still work for, Maira McDermott. She's my supervisor now, and there are so many things that I appreciate about the way she is, and I wish that I was more like her in how she treats people with respect and makes them feel like they're the most important person that she's talking to, and how she handles stress and how she is diplomatic at the right times. And so, you know, just like babies learning how to walk, they learn this from watching other people. And for me, it was, you know, just watching the people that I work for and trying to take the best from what they did. I also made some mistakes, like trying to be just like them, and you can't be just like anybody else. You can't just, you know, because you have to be yourself as well, but you can also take the good things from what you learn from how they are and apply it. And so those are my heroes, or sheroes, sorry. You know, the question about, what was the second part of the question about?
Why is it critical that gender not be a barrier?
Okay, so I think that, you know, just like diversity, there is a place for everybody and every style. And so together we're better as a group, you know, that there's strengths that men have and strengths that women have, and together we make a stronger team. So I think there's a place for everybody in this environment.
Great points. Thank you, Jennifer. Laura, you're up next.
I definitely have a lot of sheroes. I was lucky enough to have a mentor coming into DOT, Leah Wagner, who she actually was supposed to be on the panel as well and could not make it. She was definitely someone that when I met her, she helped me kind of find my own path and to be strong as, you know, as an engineer, but also a woman, because there are still sexism in the workplace. Sometimes it's micro-sexism, unfortunately, and it's really hard sometimes of how to deal with it. It can be taken sometimes in a way you don't want it to be. So there's still sometimes this balance of trying to find how to deal with these issues, and sometimes you've never dealt with them before. So she really helped with that. I'd say Tawana Brooks, she was in our division. Her and another woman were the first women on the engineering training program, and she held the highest position in our division ever still. So I really admire her. My parents were always really big advocates for me. They actually used to say to me, a bachelor degree will never leave you, a bachelor could. They always put education above other things. I remember even being young and some little boy asked me to marry him, and I told him I had to go to college first. So they always pushed education first, and that I could do anything. So, you know, the second part, the gender, of course, women can do anything. Women, so can men. We both can. And it's just time now for that to be kind of shown. So you should never really let your gender, determine what you want to do. Just be persistent. And if people tell you you can't do it, if they're trying to get you, sway you into something else, oh, you should be doing this instead because you're a woman, don't listen to them. It's really what you want. You go for what you want, and then you just keep going. And there are women here to help. Find a mentor. We're all here to help each other, and that's why it's important.
Those are great comments. Mentors are so important. Thank you. So Toyia.
I kind of had the same, yes, I am. I kind of had the same issue that Janice did. I had to kind of think about my sheroes. So a couple of them that kind of came to mind was Mary Jackson and Katherine Johnson, especially Mary Jackson, because she fought to be an engineer. And I remember when I decided to switch my major from computer science to civil engineering, and I was struggling a little bit, and my mom was like, well, maybe you should switch majors. Maybe this isn't for you. And I was like, no, I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna get it. And so it took me a little while to get my degree, but I got it. And she was encouraging in the end. And so I think that's what females do need, is that encouragement and that push to get us to where we're going. I think that, like what you were saying, that my husband gave me a quote that great minds aren't always male. And so, being in society always feels like, the great ideas always have to come from a man, but we have good ideas and we can implement these great ideas too. It's just housed in a different shell.
That's really wonderful. I cannot tell you all how wonderful it has been to see such shining stars from the NCDOT come and talk to us. We are so impressed by you. Thank you for taking your time to do this. But before we go, we'd like to leave you with a few quotes from some other powerful women in STEM to inspire you in your journey forward. So this particular quote is by Danica McKellar. She's a mathematician, and she's the Wonder Years actress of the iconic character of Winnie Cooper. And this is what she had to say. If you're beautiful, you're led to believe you can't also be smart, but you can be fun and fit and social and be really smart. And the smarter you are, the more capable you'll be to handle whatever challenges come up in life.
So to piggyback on Lisa, I have just, you just, ladies, doesn't understand, well, you do understand, right? How much today has meant to me. And listening to your stories, because your story is our stories. But thank you so much. This was very inspirational. And again, I hope that we can continue to have these conversations. I look forward to just learning about you ladies more. I have a quote from Nichelle Nichols, and she said, by the way, she's a former NASA ambassador, and she was an actress for Star Trek. And Nichelle said, science is not a boys' game. It's not a girls' game. It's everyone's game. It's about where we are and where we're going. Space travel benefits us here on Earth, and we ain't stopped yet. There's more exploration to come. Thank you, ladies, and thank you, Miracle.
Well, that will do it for this edition of our program. We would like to thank our distinguished guests for participating today, and we look forward to them helping to build a stronger and more resilient transportation system. If you watching would like more information about what we do here at NCDOT, join us online at ncdot.gov.